Well, it's October already, and that came round fast, as usual. So the start of the month was the last round of the DC, round 5, the Woodpecker stages. Me and Steph went there and basically went to try and beat Ed Cobley, as we have done the last few events now. Very fast, very popular events. Weather was a bit on and off, but extremely good fun. Pushed as hard as I could. We chased Ed pretty much the whole rally, but he managed to pull out a reasonable lead on us again, so we had to settle for second, which we were very happy with. And then the weekend after that was round 5 of the British Cross Country Championship, which we did with our new Freelander. It was Grant driving his first drive, with Janto navigating with him. A pretty special weekend as well. We had a nice special guest, which in the form of Brian Johnson, lead singer of AC/DC. He came along to say hello to the team and meet us.
That was about my 3rd lap of the day, so I had to be pretty careful, you know, especially when you've got somebody who's excitable as Brian and singing Highway to Hell in your ear. It's pretty hard to take it steady. But we had a good round, and it's actually the first 3 rounds set the basis for the day in terms of settling into the course. It's a 6-mile course, so it takes some learning. We were very, very happy with the way things were going. Myself and Janto, the co-driver, was doing an outstanding job, in fast becoming one of our more experienced co-drivers. He made sure that vehicle sympathy was the word of the day and calmed me down, because for me it was all about winning and getting around as fast as I could. And I think we both came together very well. You know, we had Janto preserving the vehicle, me trying to go as fast as I can, and somewhere in the middle we met quite nicely. And the upshot of that was, at the end of the day 1, we had a 4-minute lead over second place, and we also had the joint fastest time of the day. Probably more importantly, and certainly for the tech team, is that we had a vehicle that required very little servicing. In fact, it left the tech team then to do the great thing and go and help other teams, which they did. They worked very tirelessly through the night supporting other teams, which is, again, a bit about what we are as a team. Second day started very well. We settled into a nice, fairly quick lap, and on the second lap we set the fastest time for the whole weekend for the Freelander class. At that point we decided that it was time to ease off a little bit and just, you know, err on the vehicle sympathy side of things. But that said, we continued to knock up some pretty handy times whilst looking after the vehicle. Unfortunately, with 3 laps to go, we had an issue with the vehicle. The oil pressure sensor went, which is not a mechanical issue. It's a technical issue, and effectively what that means is that the vehicle, because basically it's a family vehicle, goes into what we call get you home mode. So the vehicle throws itself into a 4th gear, and the course was so technical that you were never going to get around it in 4th gear. We could have tried, but we would have compromised the course, and it could have been quite dangerous. So unfortunately, despite starting every single round, we had to retire on the last 3, and the bogey time that we were given was so high that it meant that we literally lost 8 minutes per lap. So we went from having a very healthy first position and finished in, still a credible 3rd. But to say that Janto and I were disappointed is an understatement.
The guys got it around the stage, but at a slower rate than they'd been putting in before, and that just allowed a couple of the other crews to pip ahead of them in the points. And that has left us joint first going into the final round with Ian Linford. Next round's in 3 weekends' time at Walters Arena in Wales, which is where we raced with the DC90 a couple of months back. So hard place on the cars. I'll most likely get Grant to head up the drive again with Janto navigating, but we'll also be inviting Dynamic Metals, the Freelander sponsor, along to the event, and hopefully give Sam, who is our liaison there, and maybe a couple of his guys some laps in the car, and thank them for backing us throughout this whole season with the Freelander. Well, the end of the month's just gone. 2 things going on. There was myself, Olaf, Alec, John and Kev, who went off to Bulgaria. But while we were out there, it was the annual rally day at Castle Combe. We participated each year. Always been invited back and to do paid passenger rides around the little off-road course they've got. It was great to go back again this year. Tiff basically headed up the team, looking after all the crew that went. Chris was in charge of all the vehicles. Tony came along to do the rides. We had Mark Cullum there as well, who took the truck out on the infield, and also Chris had a turn, but he did some wildcat drives as well. And also Matt Smith and our friends from Extreme Off-Road came and joined us. Matt brought his Tomcat along, and he was there alongside Joy and Tony and Mark doing rides in his car. So by all accounts, another great rally day for 14. Okay, well, the Balkans. Where do we start? Obviously, it's been an event I've been bigging up for quite a while now, and it's sort of the second tier of showing off our renewed relationship with Castrol Edge. And yeah, everything was prepped. The car was fully raring to go. Service van, trailer, everything had been gone through and all prepped, and couldn't be, more prepared and looking forward to it. Nice clean run all the way down to Bulgaria. I don't recommend some of the Romanian roads that we went on. They were pretty horrendous. But yeah, got down to a place called Almeria, which is just outside of Varna on the coast of Bulgaria. Couldn't have been more in awe of it, really. It's fantastic setup, great organisation, very friendly. And then that saw us start on Saturday morning for a ceremonial start, which was drive to Varna. They'd closed down the city centre there.
Ben, Olof, thank you very much for coming. You're making a big message, not only in the other races where you take part, but also here in Bulgaria. I'm very happy to welcome you here.
Technical scrutineering set up in lanes, all the public could come and mingle with us in the cars and see everything. All building up to a stage start after announcements and some local entertainment and things like that. Beautiful weather, beautiful country, beautiful city. Couldn't have asked for more. It was an absolutely fantastic start. Yeah, from that stage start on the Saturday, we went straight into a small baby stage, if you like. It was 87 kilometres, if I remember rightly, just to sort of get you warmed up into the racing, the scenery, the navigation aspect of things. But it was also compass bearing navigation side as well. So at a certain point in the road book, you'd get to a place and then they'd go, right, travel of the bearing of 122 for 1 kilometre, and then you'd pick up the road book again and it should make sense. That did catch us out to begin with, and we lost quite a bit of time there, plus a few other bits, just getting used, Olaf getting used to how things work, a few schoolboy errors, a few mistakes that anyone can make, but came to the end of the stage unscathed. So Sunday, yeah, got into the flow and sort of jumped back up into the better area within the cars, more similarly paced vehicles, ready for the afternoon. So pulled into service at that lunchtime, very happy with what we'd done that morning and felt we were back in the flow of it. So went out very positive for the Sunday afternoon. We'd started off just behind a beautiful classic 3-door Range Rover that was racing. It was great to see that. We caught the classic Range Rover not long into the stage, as we sort of expected, really, and things were going well. But sadly, just after we'd done that, things went very unwell. We're going through a small little valley, sort of a half-moon-shaped valley. Just gone across some cross ruts at high speed, as I remember. Coming up to sort of some woods and some grass. And sadly, it was a bit of a late call from Olaf. I just heard caution, bridge, as we were pretty much on that. It's something I needed a lot more warning for. We were carrying the wrong speed into that section. My reaction, obviously, is to stamp on the brakes and put the front wheels instantly locked up on the grass as we saw the bridge, which was about 45 degrees to the right of us. Just went straight forward. There's nothing you can do in that. I could have taken my foot off the brake and tried to turn, but I didn't know what was left, and I certainly knew there was a bridge right, which we weren't going to make at that speed. So we carried on straight forwards through some small trees, stroke bushes. No indication of really what was the other side of them, and sadly what was the other side of them was the river that the bridge was crossing. It was a small river, but it was about a 15-20 foot drop down into it. We'd scrubbed enough speed that we nose-dived off the bank directly into the middle of the small river. The car was pretty much vertical as we landed, and the momentum meant it carried on. So ending result, we were upside down underwater in a river, which as many discussions as I've had in the past with other racing drivers is pretty much everyone's biggest fear. head on to trees and things like that. We all know the risks, and we've been there and had close shaves and probably done it, but being upside down in water is always a scary prospect, and it's something I never want to repeat. I'm not going to go into it too much, but I won't lie, it was close. I'm happy to be here. I'm thankful to get out. I'm not really sure how I did. There was a small air pocket which saved my life. Olaf had troubles getting out as well, but did manage to get out. His door opened and came off, and he managed to scramble out, and I eventually scrambled out his side as well. Yeah, to look at the car, you wouldn't even think it's gone through a bush, but it was upside down in that river for an hour and a half. And yeah, afterwards we stopped the next cruise and got the call put out that we'd had a crash. The medicals crews turned up, a load of locals turned up with vehicles and winches and helped with the recovery process and did a fantastic job. Everyone across the board was fantastic. I think we emptied 9.5 litres of silty, dirty water out the engine. It was never going to be a case of cleaning out and starting up again. It needs stripping and rebuilding. It's too precious and too good an engine to risk those sort of things. So that was the end of the rally for the car. And at the time, I was happy that we could probably clean it and start the next day with penalties, but once everything was done and dusted and we met up with the service crew and got the car loaded and headed back to the hotel, I started to deteriorate. Initially I think with shock, but then that, after being checked out, insisted I went to the hospital. End results were I had a bit of water in my right lung. They gave me the head all clear, but I think there's things wrong with my blood test as well, and I stayed in hospital for observation. Finally got released myself, but then after that, stomach bugs and things came into play. And long story short, I ended up flying back and recovering back here for the last week. So I'm literally just on the end of it now, recovering and put it all behind us, move forward. And yeah, gutted that we didn't go there and do what we wanted to do and take away from the event what we wanted to take, and represent everyone the way we wanted to. It is rallying. It's there's not much you can say about it. Just, as I say, I'm both happy that me and Olaf are all right and here to tell the tale, really. So as I sit here, what's coming up for the next month? We're just at the start. Straight into a working weekend, coming off the back of Bulgaria this weekend. So some of the guys coming along and basically unpacking things like the van and putting everything back into its place, cleaning up, tidying up. Start working on the Castrol Cat. And we've also got Rat Cat to carry on and finish with as well. Joy will need a clean and a service. The 3 cars needing good attention, plus all the background gear. They'll all be built up for the 2 weekends towards the end of the month, which, as I say, is going to be round 6 of the Defender Challenge, the penultimate round, which will be the Cumbrian Rally. So me and Steph will gear up and go to that, and then the weekend after that will be the final round of the BCCC, which will be at Walters Arena. So the Freelanders all fixed. We just need to do a check and a few more upgrades that we didn't get a chance to do before the last round, but it proved a very capable car at Bovington, and yeah, we'll go into the last round. Hopefully pip the win and get the championship, and as I say, Dynamic Metals will hopefully be joining us as well, so they'll bring some of their guys along, see the team, get some rides out in the car and hopefully celebrate the win with us.